Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine nearly 2 months ago, over 5 million people, mostly women and children, have fled the country. Joining us is Lauren Leader, co-founder and CEO of All In Together. She just returned to the United States from Poland. So please let us understand and help us understand what it means on the ground when over 5 million people that are not numbers, they're humans, become refugees in just a matter of weeks.
Well, and in some cases, in a matter of minutes. I can't tell you the number of people that I spoke to that told me that their decision to flee was in a matter of just moments, that the bombs began falling and they threw whatever they could into a backpack and fled for whatever bus or train or car they could possibly get in order to get out of the country. And you're right that these numbers, which are just so enormous and hard to wrap your head around, I mean, 5 million people. And then in the country of Poland, which has seen the largest influx of refugees, it's about 2.7, almost 3 million people that have gone just into the country of Poland. It is hard to imagine what that means. But when you talk to people one on one, it is so deeply personal. Teachers and doctors and engineers and mothers and sisters and daughters and all of them, what they all said to me is that the reason they decided to leave ultimately was so that their children could have a future, that they weren't really even thinking of themselves, but it was so that their children would be safe and that their communities and their culture and their livelihood would continue even as they leave husbands and brothers and sons behind.
I think that's a universal human thing. What are the biggest challenges for the people fleeing Ukraine, and what are agencies doing to help them?
Yeah, and I was visiting in Warsaw with CARE, which is an international aid organization that's doing just unbelievable work, not just in Poland, but around the world. And with their partners, a Polish agency called PCPM, they are running the refugee resettlement center at the Warsaw East train station. And every day, I just in the 1 12-hour day that I spent there, I mean, hundreds of people came through, hundreds of children. So the needs are vast. And fundamentally, most people are coming with very little resources, without money, necessarily, without a place to stay, without even knowing how they're going to take care of themselves or their families. So there are a number of programs to try to resettle folks. The Polish government has made it their policy that refugees will live with or be supported in the homes of Poles. And so I met someone who's actually living in an office with 10 people because an IT company offered their office space. There's 10 people living on the floor in this office. I visited a family living in what they consider to be pretty outstanding accommodations. It was about a 300 square foot studio apartment for a family of three. So people are blown away by the hospitality of the Poles, which is very real and very substantial. But just making ends meet is extremely difficult. The programs to try to give cash assistance, which are incredibly important, are slow. I mean, about 200,000 people have gotten cash assistance out of 2.7 million that are in the country. So other folks are really struggling to get by. And, I heard a story which I honestly couldn't believe. A refugee told me about friends of hers who turned around and went back to Ukraine after having gone through unbelievable challenges and hardships just to get to Poland, but they found it so difficult just to make ends meet. They felt that at home, at least they had left some food behind and they had a garden and they could fend for themselves. So, people are really struggling. This is going to be a long haul. It's also very difficult for people to get jobs if they don't speak Polish, and most Ukrainians don't. So, some of the people that I met, were lucky because they we're able to get some jobs working with Ukrainian children. I'll be reporting on that more with NBC next week. But, it's a really difficult situation. They're all just living day to day.
And one of the things that I think a lot about as I read more about the experience of refugees and the fact that so many are kids, we only have one more minute, but how many children did you meet on the ground where they lost one or both of their parents, whether they were fighting or killed?
The kids are so universally traumatized, Zerlina. I mean, this is just their whole lives have been turned upside down. They've been ripped apart, ripped away from everything they know and love. But I'll share one little optimistic story. There are Ukrainian teachers who are scattered to the winds who are doing Zoom classes with the kids that they had taught previously, doing Ukrainian school by Zoom. With kids that are scattered all over the world. They are trying to stay connected to one another and trying to be normal kids, playing Minecraft and riding their scooters. But This is a really difficult time for millions, and the world needs to stay focused on supporting them for the long haul.
We'll continue to stay focused here on this show. Lauren Leader, thank you for being here and helping us understand what's happening on the ground. Please stay safe. Coming up,